Oh, welcome to the Sharpe Way show, a little bit past 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and I'm here again. Finally, it took me like 5 days to actually come on time. I have been late every single day this week. I blame Mike Vass because I blame him for everything. So it's just his fault. That's the reason why I wasn't. But this time, I am on time. I made it 7 p.m. I hope you're all happy that I made it on time. I have what might be, I thought yesterday would be a spicy show, but it wasn't as spicy as I thought. I thought it might be spicier. It was not. But I think I'm going to have a spicy show tonight because we're talking about what nobody wants to talk about, race. Yes, indeed. We're chatting about race. Race, what effect, if any, I mean, maybe it's not, and maybe it's a lot. What effect is race going to have on this 2024 election? And I know people are saying, well, wait a minute, Larry, you know, the black vote is this, the Hispanic vote is that. Well, maybe and maybe not. I have with me a star-studded, well, kind of star-ish panel tonight. Absolutely star-ish panel tonight. I am bringing, she is an activist. She is a former candidate. She is someone who I adore and have known for, I don't want to say how many years. I'm just going to say 2 months because it makes us sound younger. The one and only Martha Bueno. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you? Larry, I think we're going close to at least 8 years.
It's been a while.
It's been a
Yes,
while. It's been a little while.
It has been a while. It has been a while. Absolutely. Yes. And I also want to bring in the man who I blamed everything on, and now he got me on time. So I guess I'm an idiot. I guess I basically just swapped it out. It's okay. He is a returning champion, a man who I've actually known probably longer than Martha, actually. The man himself, the man from Soundbites Allowed, Michael Vass. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, actually, we have known each other for longer.
Yes.
Which it's something.
It is something. That I like that. It's something. That is accurate. It is something. Absolutely, yes.
I'm sure I'll get blamed for it.
Yeah. Don't I always just look? I want to make sure that I take no responsibility whatsoever. So that's it. So yes, I'm going to start with my own show. Not no soundbites allowed. No responsibility allowed. None. I have none of it. No responsibility at all. It's always somebody else's fault. That's what I'm going to do. But I do want to bring up something here, if I could, that I think is kind of important. It's polling. Polling that we have all the time that we talk about. And why I like the polling is it does give us a good snapshot. It does. It's true. But the bad part about the polling is particularly when you do things like, you know, Hispanic Americans or whatever Americans or this American or that American. The problem that we have with it, it makes everything almost like a monolith. If that makes any sense, right? It's like, so all the Hispanic people are the same, right? All the black people are the same. And I know that's not true, but there is a piece of it that is. Let me show you what I mean by that. There's a recent poll. This came out from Telemundo, if you guys can see it. Which party do you identify with? And this is Hispanic Americans, right? And it's a massive difference from 10 years ago. You go to 2012, 21% of Hispanic Americans identify with Republicans, 62 Democrats. Now it's 37 Republicans. That's a 16-point swap in about 12 years, give or take. That's a massive swap. Is that real? Doesn't matter.
Well, there's a lot in there. First of all,
that's why I'm saying that. Yes.
Well, I mean, we got to break it down to understand the parts, to understand the whole thing. And when I say that, I mean, first of all, we have the fact that the culture, especially when we're talking about black and Hispanics, their culture is more conservative. They're not liberal. They're not progressive. They are center right, if not right itself. And we've seen that for decades now, since about 1960, JFK, essentially. We've seen that there has been a big movement where the Democrats have been more and more trying to unify or monolith blacks and Hispanics, that you are all the same. And that being uplifted only happens when you all get uplifted at the same time. That's the messaging that has been programmed into every one of our schools. That's in all the messaging.
But hold on, let me talk to something that Martha knows very well. there's been an exception to that rule, and that has been Cubans. They're the crazy ones, right? You know it's true, right? They go, all Hispanics are this, except these crazy Cubans who are different than all the other Hispanics. That's been the narrative for years.
But also, when we talk about Hispanic people, we're talking about 20 different countries. 20 different countries make up what is, so, you know, it's very difficult to say that one group of Hispanics can cover all 20. I mean, it's like saying all of Europe is exactly the same. It's not. And so, yes, Cubans tend to go very right, but now we have Venezuelans who are escaping what Cuba has had for the last 65 years. Venezuelans are escaping it too. So, and you have a dichotomy there too. You have people who are receiving government aid, who are going to favor the left because that's the party that's going to give them more of it. And then you have people that have been here for a long time that probably didn't get that aid, that are like, I didn't get it. Why should you get it? So there's a lot of segments when we say Hispanics, and I don't think one group can cover it all.
Well, so same thing with Black and Hispanic, or same thing, that there is, in the culture, there is no monolith. In the news, in the entertainment, there is no monolith. The only time there's a monolith is when it comes to the politics and when it comes to left-leaning politics, when the Democrats are speaking about it. You must be this way. Otherwise, what did we hear from Joe Biden? Oh, you have to vote Democrat or you're not Black.
Well, when did he get to have that? I want to stay on Hispanics, though, because you and I aren't Black anymore, because we didn't vote for Biden, so we're not Black anymore.
They say the same thing about Hispanics.
How dare you?
No, hold on. I do want to go to one thing. I think, and I'm going to give you pushback on this, Martha. I think there is one thing that is very similar throughout almost all the 20 countries. Almost all. Okay. I think there is a line. And I think that line is trying to get the American dream. I think that's the same in whether you're Puerto Rican, whether you're Venezuelan, Mexican. I don't think it matters in that regard. I think they're all saying, I'm here to get my American dream. Either me, myself, I came here, or my dad, or my mom, or my grandparents, right? Somebody came here to get the American dream, and I'm in. And it's not like so many Americans who are, say, 7 generations behind. Many Hispanics are 1 or 2.
Absolutely.
Many of them are 1 or 2 versus 7.
Wholeheartedly. Absolutely. Everybody's trying to come here, but I think that's universal to all immigrants, honestly.
Immigrants, but not minorities. That is my difference. Even Hispanics who are born here, even Hispanic who was born here, right? Their parents probably came or their grandparents came. But for a lot of Americans who are Black, Asian, whatever, their parents might not have come.
Okay, well,
they might have been here for 3-4 generations.
Well, or more. Again, or more. You're missing that in that there's no difference between the Angolans who are coming over here, people who are coming from Zambia, people who are coming from Pakistan.
Nigeria is the biggest one from Africa.
Nigeria is the biggest, but I'm just pointing out that the same thing you've just said about Hispanics is true of every country in the world and has been true of every country in the world somewhere around 100 years now. So everyone's after the same thing. The difference isn't about why are they coming. We understand why they're coming. They have greater freedom here and greater opportunity here than in any other country on the face of the earth. That's a fact. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming here. That's not where we're
going, Mike. Stop going off the reservation here.
No, but you're missing.
You're going to the reservation.
Yeah, but you're saying things that are, one, out of context, and two, don't actually make sense because it's not specific to Hispanics. It's indicative of every
immigrant. My point is, yes, it is. And let me tell you why.
Okay,
if you look at Black Americans, right? There's a chunk of Black Americans that are, for example, Nigerian immigrants. That's a chunk. But the largest chunk of Black Americans are descendants of slaves. They've been here for, correct. That's the majority of the Black community. Correct. Most, not all of it, but that's the majority. The biggest chunk of that, which means the biggest chunk of the Black community has been here for many, many, many generations, right? Many generations. A lot of white people, not all of them, but a lot of them been here for many generations, right? Most of our Jewish population has been here for many generations. Not all, but majority of it has been here for many generations. That's not the same for Hispanic community. The Hispanic community, relative to the others, is a much newer, larger group, and they're much closer to the American dream than, say, the Black community is. That's what I'm saying. That's what Martha's like, yes, Larry, you're right. And she's Hispanic, so I'm right and you're wrong, Mike.
Well, but here's also a distinction.
Check
the Hispanic community that's been here for a long time. Let's say, you know, a lot of California, a lot of Nevada, a lot of these border states were part of Mexico, and those people have turned into Americans over time. So when we think of Hispanic people, it is 1, 2, 3 generations, because any further back, they just turn into Americans. And so honestly, I think it's just universal to 1, 2, and 3 generations deep for all countries that come here, because you're actively coming to the United States to seek that American dream versus, you know, you've been here for a while and you're like, you know, I come first, you guys stay over there. This is my country and you shouldn't be here. You know, let's pull up that ladder or close the door after me. So I think that that's really the dichotomy. We're looking at it like people coming across the border based on the color of their skin or the country of origin makes a difference. I just don't think so. I think that it's the immigrants really that make a difference, and they're fleeing something. They have recent history of what they're trying to get away from, as opposed to Americans. Yeah, we'll talk about, you know, I hear my friends who came from Europe, their ancestors, and like, yeah, they've lost that notion of what it was that their ancestors were fleeing. They don't have the same.
Well, let me grab a super chat if I could. This is an important super chat, I think, because this is a part where it comes to labeling. Lunatic Libertarian, thank you for the $5. He says Hispanic is a slur. Spain colonized and destroyed 91% of the indigenous. So I'll ask, when I say Hispanic, am I making an error when I say Hispanic? Should I not say that?
Of course you should.
You just said it's a slur.
Sure. So what? There's a slur for every country in the world. Every country.
Yeah, but I don't want to be saying slurs.
I'll take Hispanic over Beaner.
Well, yes.
You know, like you can call it Latino. The only thing that I beg you don't call us is Latinx or Latino or whatever. Please,
Sarah just asked for it. Not. Sarah, you're in trouble. Sarah just asked for it.
No, Latinx.
That is a slur.
Everything else is absolutely. Everything else you can call us. It's fine. We're okay with it.
Yeah.
So let me ask
I speak for all of us. It is. We're a monolith. If we call us anything but Latinx.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an insult to language and people. I mean, talk about subverting a language. You're changing the Spanish. You're changing the language by putting an X, because Spanish is male and female dominated, like almost all of the Latin languages. But that's another thing. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't think about when they think about this. And they go, okay, there's a slur by saying this or that. First of all, every country in the world has been a colonizer. If you can name the country, it colonized somebody. If you can name a culture in the history of mankind, they colonized someone. Everyone has a slur for someone else. Right now, if you go into France and you're Algerian,
I'm trying to figure out what this election is.
But
now we went down the road.
No, but they try to oversimplify this. The fact is, the only ones who are talking about this and trying to boil it all down into one 30-second soundbite so that they can easily push everyone in the marketing are the Democrats, because it makes it simple. They're trying to dumb it down. We are different peoples with different motivations, and we should be treated like that, like any other American. And when you boil it down, whether you're black or Hispanic, it's insulting. Same thing for women.
So let me head over to what Pinkabell says. Thank you. She's a member, and I appreciate that for being a member. I think what is reflected in that poll is the working class leaning more towards Republicans. Black and Hispanic folks make up a large part of the working class. I think that's there's some truth to that, right? I think if you look at the parties, what's been happening, the Democratic Party has been losing the working class in general. And it's become more and more a party of the educated women, right? It's becoming more that kind of a party. If you're an educated woman, you're more Democratic. And the Republican Party has been picking up the working class. I mean, it's for a while, but I think Trump was very aggressively going after the working class. And I know people don't like Trump, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I think he's done a pretty good job of getting the working class to move towards him. I think he has done a good job of that. And maybe this is what she's talking about. Since there are more Black and Hispanic folks in the working class compared to white, maybe that's part of this. Is that part of this, or is she off on this?
It's partially because of the working class, but I think it's more a realization that the lie that we've been told has been realized. And I think we see that more in this election than any other, because we've seen all of the things that the traditions that we have always seen have all been broken. And we've seen behind the curtain with the part-time zombie president and the lies that have gone along with him. You can't say, oh, well, they're right. We are all being uplifted by this one group of people who keep making promises that they never keep, and they're going to improve our life, even though they've never done it.
Democrats bad, Republicans good. Got it.
I didn't say that.
Martha,
tell
me if she's right or not. Tell me if she's right or not.
I'm not sure. It's a good point. I'm not 100% sure where we stand here.
Yeah, my gut says she's right. I don't have data on this, Pinkerbell. I don't have data on it, but my gut says she's right, because I feel like I see it in labor. I know that New York's a very heavily labor union state, and I do a lot of work with labor with companies that are unionized, and I've seen a drastic change in how they think. They do think that they used to think, if you go back 20 years, Republicans bad, Democrats good. Now they're much more open to, like, well, you know what? I like some things Trump's saying. I like some things Biden does. Like, they're much open to going back and forth, where I don't think that was a thing 20 years ago.
Okay, see, now you're the one who's saying that Republican good, Democrat bad. I'm saying,
no, I didn't.
Promises. I said people breaking promises that were made.
I didn't say either.
Well, not okay. It sounds like that's what you're saying. And
no, I said they are starting to think differently than they thought. They were, I think, go back 20 years or so, maybe more. Most unionized people were like, nope, Democrats are good, Republicans are bad. That's what they thought. Now, I don't think that's true anymore. I think they're more open to, I like some things that guy says, I like some things this guy said. Unions weren't that anti-Biden, right? They weren't that anti-Biden. They're much more anti-Harris. But they weren't that anti-Biden. They were iffy on Biden. Unions were iffy on Biden.
Well, that's before they had the opportunity to see that he's a part-time zombie president and that everyone's lied to them. And we've seen very quickly that everything that Kamala Harris has said is subjective to, is it going to give her more power? So she'll say anything and flip-flop on everything.
Not wrong.
So how can I trust someone who's making that kind of any promise to me when I can see bald-faced lies and avoidance of questions when they're speaking to me? But that's indicative of what we've been seeing, yes, by Democrats, because they're the ones who are targeting minorities specifically, and we've been seeing them do this for 50 years. At some point, people catch on and go, hey, you know what? They're lying. And most people think they're limited in their options. They don't go to third parties because they don't really think they exist. So that means they default to Republican.
Yeah.
So let me grab a couple super chats if I can. Slangy and Stu says, tops 89.1%, not 90. I'm pretty sure it's teasing Lunikit, who said 91%.
Yes.
So yes, thank you for that, for the $2. That was worth a tease. All right, that was nicely done. So Slangy goes on to say, thank you for the $5. Democrats are sometimes bad. Republicans sometimes bad. Mm-hmm. They're never both good at the same time. Well, that's true.
I challenge them to find good governance anywhere.
You got to look. You got to search for it.
It doesn't matter what's, there's a few good people, maybe 2 or 3, a handful at best. But government politicians are just not here for us. And it's almost exhausting to, we got to defend your team or the other team or whatever. And meanwhile, none of them care about us. It's not like one side is doing amazing work. We don't see an improvement generally.
To that point, the Libertarian says, thank you for the $20, Lunatic. I appreciate it. My point, labels, titles, and categories allow for minimizing or prioritizing certain segments of the human population. He agrees with you, Mike. I think he's on your side in this one. Mm-hmm. Unless we have truth, accountability, and transparency, we are not in good shape. Why no dollars to North Carolina? I mean, that's yes. No, Lunatic, that's 3 hits. That's a hit. I think they're all hits.
Mm-hmm. All hits. Absolutely. But, I mean, look at what's happening. He just brought up a great point, which is with North Carolina. There's no money going there. They're literally stealing, from what I'm hearing, they're stealing aid that other people are bringing voluntarily of their own, volition to North Carolina. And so what good is this government? I mean, I hate to be the one that's always like, y'all, the government's just bad. But y'all, the government's just bad.
Sometimes you have that's just the truth. And I can confirm, I was actually Wednesday, I was talking to, on a podcast, a very good personal friend of mine who lives in North Carolina, and confirmed many of the stories that we've been hearing, that FEMA is blocking independent individuals trying to aid their fellow neighbors, that other government forces are getting in the way of people doing search and rescue, putting up drones, donating food and water. It is happening.
They put no-fly zones around it, so everybody with the helicopter that was helping cannot help. Absolutely terrific.
People and they pay for the federal license. They got the training. These are people who are, qualified by the government to do what they should be doing right now. And they're told, no, you can't do that. And I don't understand it and this is the example of how bad our government has become, regardless of whatever race and color, is that, we have a government that says government must manage and micromanage every aspect of your life, including you helping someone else in an emergency. This is insane. And when you try to stop that, you're the bad guy.
Yes.
And if you happen to try and stop doing that, or rather, if you're trying to do something and you're white, well, then it's now characterized as evil because, white people are evil. That's the popular thing.
That's what I heard. I heard that same thing. Oh my God, I heard that too. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine that. I'm Hispanic and I get the white hate. So thanks everyone.
You get both. You get both, Martha. Look at that. You get both. I have a question for you, Martha. Solange, thank you for $2. She says, does she agree get rid of political parties? Martha, tell me.
I mean, if you couldn't tell before, I'm here for let's get rid of government. Let's get rid of political parties. let's vote for people based on what they say and what they can do and not the color of their team or the letter behind their name. I mean, honestly, I think most people can agree. We all like RFK Jr. We all like Tulsi Gabbard. I think we pretty much all like Thomas Massey. We like Rand Paul and Ron Paul. Like there's certain people in government that we're like, yeah, I kind of like that dude. They're doing the work that I think needs to happen, and they're good people. They're solid people. And then we have all the other politicians, and I don't think that they really care much for us. They're not doing a great job. None of them are particularly intelligent. I remember Hank Johnson from Georgia, who thought that Guam was going to tip over if they put too many military personnel. I mean, honestly, I think it's a time to reckon with ourselves and be like, are these the people we really want making decisions for ourselves? So, I agree. No political parties. Let's just go.
See, parts of what you're saying, Martha, I agree with completely, that we do need to, and I've said it many, many times, we need to make sure that our elected officials are effective and efficient. But yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with having parties in terms of ideologies. Now, having those parties be something that you are penalized for not obeying, that's a problem. When they demand obedience, now we no longer have a political party. Now we have a slave master, and that's a problem. Okay. And that's what it really turns into, and that's what it really is.
I don't think the parties are our slave masters, but I do think it's the government. I think the government is our slave master.
Slongy says, Mike, you're not in a good list, but she is. She's on a good list.
I'm never on.
Thanks for the $2. She's on a good list. You didn't make the good list, Mike.
I'm never on the good list. That's all right.
It's my last name, so if I don't make the good list, it's
that's true. Absolutely. All right. I want to grab a couple of comments. I want to bring another piece in if I could. Pigabell likes your suit, by the way, Mike.
Thank you.
This is the second time you make me look bad.
It's just a smoking jacket.
All right. See, now he's showing off.
Well, I got to show my shirt. I have a free Ross shirt, so now.
There we go.
My shirt is special to me at least. Free Ross.
There we go.
That's cool.
And I'm in a goddamn bunker. You guys are all making me look bad. Okay, I see how this is. You're making me look bad.
Behind me.
No, she's got the background. Yeah.
And she does the background.
I don't know if you can see the lights out that way. It does. It is very beautiful. It is very pretty out in Miami. Nice.
I appreciate that. So the AC is a member. Thank you for being a member. Ironically, that the Republicans are the ones who have their panties in a bunch over demographic change, or I always like to call it the Great Replacement.
No,
and this is an issue. I think he's got a valid point here.
No, he doesn't.
You do find a chunk. I know because you love Republicans, but there's a chunk of Republicans who absolutely believe that. There's a chunk of Republicans who absolutely believe that, and I think he's got a valid point. Martha, tell me.
It's more so a progressive media point, and it has been exemplified and magnified and promoted by the left-wing news media. It's not really something that you see it is something, there is a correlation. Well, yeah, a correlation, not a fact, not a causation, that we are seeing that there is a large number of illegal aliens entering into the United States, and that is shifting populations in especially in urban centers.
Yep.
And we do know, and we heard from Kamala Harris herself on ABC News in Philadelphia when she answered the question about illegal immigration. She did say that this was a part of the reason why they have open borders is to promote and facilitate a pathway to citizenship, which would change elections permanently going forward. So if I point that out and someone says, and someone on the left goes, see, that's great replacement. No, I'm talking about the fact and the plan that has been described publicly, and you're just assigning a moniker to it so that you can then demonize it. There's two different things that are happening here. They're not the same thing.
Okay.
Yes, there's a small group of Republicans that believe that. Fine. There's an even bigger group of far left Democrats that believe it under that title, but it still has a core fact to it.
Okay, Martha, tell me.
All right, so, yes and no. I think that the problem that we have is so many people are coming across the border, and it doesn't matter what the racial structure is. These are people who are coming across the border, who are getting help from the government, and who are seeing, oh, look, this government's going to take care of me. So once they do become citizens, that is what they are accustomed to, and that is what they're going to continue to vote for. We are growing a population of people that's, growing the population isn't the problem. We're growing the welfare state. What most people object to when people are coming across the border is the welfare state. We don't have money. FEMA ran out of money because the money is going to immigrants and not to disaster zones. And so I think that, Americans are sick and tired of having 40-50% of their income taken from them to then be handed out. And now they're in an emergency situation and there's no money left. So is it a great replacement? That depends. America isn't one color or one ethnicity or one background or one socioeconomic, like we're so vastly different. So who are they replacing? They're replacing people who want freedom and liberty and understand liberty and understand why America needed to have a small government, with people who love big government and are getting handouts and are going to keep getting handouts and continue to vote for it. You see it in Hispanic communities. You see it in every color that comes across. We're even seeing, Asian people coming across the border and getting a lot of help. So yeah,
right. I'm going to cover that piece here. See, Mike, you want Slungy back over, though. You want Slungy over. You're back on a good list. You want him back over. You want him back over. Slungy, thanks for the $5, brother.
But Martha, you're agreeing with me, because when I say that, when I'm talking about illegal immigration, I'm not talking about a color. I'm talking about a group of peoples who are coming into America, and it's the American citizen that is being replaced by a class of people who have no options because of the manner in which they were allowed into this country. That's what created a dependency on government, and it takes away their free will, as opposed to Americans who are already here. We have free will. We have agency in our lives because we have the First Amendment and have always had it. And therefore, we can't be as dependent as this new class, which is why they want the pathway to citizenship and an open border. So I think you agree with me completely. We're not talking about color. We're talking about classes of people. Am I right?
Absolutely. I think that we're talking about a class of people who, again, it's a welfare class. It's more government, bigger government. Central America is not facing what Venezuela and Cuba are. So they're a little more like, a government's a good thing. So they're replacing Americans or people who traditionally think one way with a new type. So yeah, I agree. It's not a color thing. It's just everybody coming across.
I want to go back to the Latinx piece before we take off.
Really? I hate Latinx.
So Latinx is out?
Yes.
It's been out since
the moment they created it.
Portland and San Francisco, it's Latinx or Latinx. I don't know which that. You say Latinx, Latinx, whatever. She says Portland and San Francisco.
I'm not surprised that a whole bunch of people far on the left who don't speak the language have decided that this is their terminology. For those of us who speak Spanish, so first of all, in Spanish you can't say Latinx. X is not X like in English. It's X, and you would say Latino X. Or Latina, like there's still an O in there. It's still male, and it's so ridiculous. The whole notion of this thing is just so stupid, and nobody who speaks Spanish will ever adhere to this thing at all, ever.
Unless they're brainwashed by the conditioning of the ideology, because I guarantee you, the people in Portland And the people in San Francisco, two of the largest areas where we saw the Antifa, insurrectionist, autonomous zones, the same people who are the furthest left pretty much in the entire country. I know there's competition with certain parts of New York and Chicago, but pretty much the furthest left, they adopt this ideology, and let's call it what it is. It is dehumanizing. It takes away people's freedom and agency. It is meant to lump them into one group and make them manageable and controllable, and you keep your head down and you say nothing. Otherwise, oh, you don't like Latinx? Well, you must be a racist. You must not like brown people. Screw you. I am a brown person. I am Latin. I am Latino. And let me be very clear about this. I hate that. Don't ever say that about anyone in my family. We will get into a fight.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been raging about Latinx since I first heard about it, and it's like it's such a stupid concept, and it was created by people who don't speak Spanish. So it's insulting. It's colonizing, is what it is. And really, I think that
you use their word. Nicely done.
Using their word. You know what? They're trying to colonize my language, my identity, my what I am, and shame on them. And they really need to stop. And I think most Hispanic people have been pushing back against it. And except for like places like HBO and Netflix, you really don't see it.
No, no one does that in real world. Yeah. I've never seen anyone say that in real world.
All right. I want to shift to something else if I could for a moment. I want to shift away from this because you guys made this about immigration, which it wasn't supposed to be, but you didn't care what I thought. So I'm going to move this over.
Connected.
I'm going to move this over to black voters. Okay.
Actually, I know this poll. Okay.
Yes, this poll. This one I thought was very interesting. For those of you who don't know, in the past, black voters easily 90% more, 95% more. When it was Obama, it was like 97 or some crazy number like that, would vote Democrat. That was like huge. Those days are gone. Black voters are shifting away from Democratic Party. Now, don't get me wrong, 77% is still amazing, but not for black voters. This is 15 to 20 points off. And this change has happened maybe in the last 15 years, give or take. This has been a relatively recent change in black voters in America. And if you look at the male and women, men, it's low. It's almost 30% when it comes to black men. This is a massive change when it comes to Trump. And the next thing is, look at the youth. It's a bigger chunk when it comes to the youth. This is a bigger shift than ever. The question is this going to matter? Or is it like whatevs? It doesn't matter. This to me seems like a big deal. When you add Hispanic and black together, traditionally, heavily, like massively Democratic, I think it's a big difference. Am I wrong?
I think you're absolutely right. And, Trump really comes across as, a guy that a lot of people, I mean, listen, he's got 3 baby mamas. He's a total thug. He's, now been charged with all these crimes. I mean, the guy is kind of, people are liking him. And I really think that I've seen a lot of people say they like him, and he's a likable guy, and it's showing up. I mean,
I think he's a strong personality, which means a lot of people either like him or hate him, right? It's rarer compared to most people to find someone who just feels kind of neutral. Some do, but most people either like Trump, that's my guy, or they're like, I hate him. I can't stand him. I feel like most people take a strong stance on him.
He's a traditionalist, and that is what is appealing because
you didn't just call him traditional, did you?
Sure, compared to the left of today,
he's a populist. He's not
a populist.
Absolutely, he's a populist, and his populism. When we look at the issues that he is populist, what are the popular issues? They are more traditional. They are more conservative, especially in comparison to what we're looking at in the progressive left-leaning, ever left-moving democracy that we have right now. The Democrats, they're always moving to the left. They have abandoned our traditions, and our customs. They're always moving further and further left. And that way, he is more traditional. I know, not classic. He's a classic Democrat from the 1970s, but he's nowhere near a Democrat today. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
Now, and I'm a little older, so I do remember the old Democrats versus what we see today. Democrats then are Republicans today, very honestly. But
I think the Democrat Party has left Republicans has left Democrats behind. Absolutely.
All the way. Yeah, because they kept moving left and their people stopped moving. Not that they moved right, they stopped moving, and that made them right. Now, when we talk about the poll, though, what I think is really interesting is if you look at, there's several polls and all the numbers vary a little bit, but when you start looking at specifically things like Black men, especially older men, Kamala drops to 56%. When you're looking at different groups, both combining the age and different races, you see that she has much less support. A lot of it has to do with she's a woman and she's a woman of color. And they're using the emotion of that glass ceiling, break through the glass ceiling to try and promote her, because her entire campaign is based on feelings. It has no substance to it. There is nothing.
Freedom and joy, Mike. Get with the program. Freedom and joy.
Yeah, okay. You know what? That's why I go to church or movies. That's not why I vote in elections. And we're seeing that people are very upset about that. And so, sorry about the background noise. This is my dog. He found a bottle.
That's not a bad thing. Dogs are wonderful.
No, this is a chew toy. But what we're seeing is that they have rejected this idea that they have to support someone that is not substantive, that doesn't have any policy that has, because in the last 3.5 years, we've seen nothing that has been proposed, which he is continuing, is beneficial to these very same groups that they're telling them, oh, no, Bidenomics is fantastic. You've never had it so good. Meanwhile, I'm looking at my grocery bill, which is, depending on where you are in the country, somewhere between 40 and 100 times more, or 100% more expensive than it was just 3 years ago. They have failed.
Okay,
the breadwinners are the ones who are saying, I'm not voting for that anymore.
Let me grab another super chat if I can. I think Lunatic is on your side when it comes to this one, Martha. He says, the idea that government is too big to fight is programmed, and the feds employ 70% of the participants. We are fighting the idea of personal security. I think he's got a point there, right? We're fighting the idea that we have, what I've always said, in the perfect world, this is not the way it is, but how it's supposed to work is the government protects our rights and we protect ourselves, right? That's how it's supposed to work. We're nowhere near that. Now, that does not include from foreign invaders, obviously. The government would protect us from foreign invaders. I mean, in our own homes and houses, the government protects our rights, and then we protect ourselves through our community, whether we hire a police force, whether we do have high gun rates, whatever. But we decide in our communities, right? We would hire our own sheriffs back in the day. We still elect sheriffs now, right? It's still a thing. So we were supposed to protect ourselves with our own communities. But that's gone away. I think he's right. Martha, am I wrong? Is he wrong?
No, I've made this point quite often. I think government has taken over the place of our communities. And so absolutely,
yes.
The government is our daddy now. It's our mommy. It's who, if you don't have a job, they're going to take care of you. If you don't have somebody to babysit your kid, they're going to provide babysitting for you. So the government has
everything.
The government has taken over for all of us. And I think that that's what we're all seeing. And they failed miserably on top of everything, because food's more expensive than ever. We were supposed to get this health care that was going to be great, and we're all paying, people are like, without this health care, so many people wouldn't be covered. With this health care, nobody's covered. I mean, it's pretty bad. I think in New
York is a good example. Bad. They literally made Obamacare, and now over 50% of New Yorkers are on either Medicaid or Medicare.
That's what it was supposed to be. That was the whole.
That's not what they said. What they said is,
lots of things. They also said you keep
now
your
we're going to have
but,
this. They did say that.
When have politicians ever told us the truth?
Many have, but they didn't get to stay in for decades. The ones who don't say the truth, who don't match up to what they did. Now, I find it interesting because
I want to talk to the people real fast, guys. If you're watching and you haven't hit the like button, why do you hate me? Click the button that is like. If you are here watching, it means you like it. So click the button known as like. Click it, hit it, punch it, smash it, do whatever you need to do. Do the thing so the like pops up. If you don't do that, you hate me. I don't know why you hate me. Not just that, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, please reshare this, retweet this, whatever the case may be. It does matter. More people see it, better for everybody. And subscribe. If you're watching any of these, subscribe or follow. And if you're on YouTube, click the notification. If you don't do that, you are literally saying you do not want a free Ross. And that makes you a bad person. So please subscribe. I do not want you to be a bad person. Subscribe. If you want to, you can also join. How do you join? You have to be on right now. I have not put together the join situation for the Sharpe Way YouTube. Right now, you can only join on Larry Sharpe YouTube. So if you go to Larry Sharpe YouTube, click that join button. You can join for $5 a month. I can do more of this and less working. And I might be on time because I won't be working so much. See that? You want me on time? I don't have to work as much. That'll solve your problem. But if you just want your chat to come to the front, super chat me on Larry Sharpe YouTube, and to the front it goes. So I've yapped away. I want to make sure I finish yapping. Go ahead, Mike. Do your thing.
Well, I was going to say that what we've been seeing is an example is Obamacare. We were given many, many promises about how it's going to be the perfect health care for everyone and everyone can afford it. It is, in fact, emergency care, which it is so at. And it has been so flawed that it has never been fully implemented. And people, notice, the older voters, people who have been around since it first came out, people who would be in their 30s and 40s now, are suddenly going, you know what? It completely failed. Why do I believe these people? They lied to me. The healthcare they're giving me is worse than the healthcare I had before, and I'm old enough to know the difference. And the young people are the only ones who go, well, maybe it'll work. No, you just haven't been alive long enough to figure it out. It doesn't work. And that's why you're starting to see that. And who are the people who are most affected by things like Obamacare? Well, lower incomes. Now, that isn't racial, but we do see a large prevalence of that in our urban areas like New York, LA, Chicago, Boston.
But I'll go one step further. I think the bigger chunk of that actually isn't that. I think it's actually small business owners. I think they're hammered the worst, right? If you're actually low income, you probably can easily go on a Medicare or Medicaid, depending upon what it is, depending upon your state, right? New York State's very lenient. New York State will put almost anybody on Medicare, Medicaid. They are very lenient. And many blue states are lenient, but red states are lenient too. So if you're of lower income, you could probably get on one of those relatively easy. But what happens if you're not? You're just trying to make it by because you have a store or a business or you're an Uber driver or whatever. You're that level of entrepreneur. That's when Obamacare just smashes you because officially you're a business owner, but you're not a big business owner. So you just get your butt kicked. I feel like the entrepreneur class gets beat up more.
Absolutely. And again, we're looking at who are a lot of the small business owners dealing with their local communities. Well, a lot of them happen to be individuals of color. And that's a big thing. And here's something that no one ever asks, and I want people to think about this. You've never been told, how do you get off of Obamacare? It's only meant to be there until you can afford your own private health care or until you get a better program. So you get it from your job, or you as a small business, you actually start to make money. You're actually able to try and get better healthcare, not just the absolute minimum basic approved by some accountant. And you say, I want better for my family. How do you get off? You know what the answer is? You can't. There isn't a process to take you off of that. And no one ever talks about that because you're never expected to get off of that. And again, who are the people who are most affected by this? Those who are in the lower incomes, especially in urban areas, which happen to be mostly in minority communities. And then that's the voting pool, which Democrats absolutely depend on. And their people have now gone through 2 decades and they're revolting because it doesn't work.
But that's exactly
go to that then. Go ahead, Martha. Go ahead.
Sorry, just said, that's exactly the point. Not only did we have the largest wealth transfer from small, businesses to these large corporations over the 2020, I don't know if we can say it on YouTube and whatnot, but on the thing that we all experienced in 2020, we had the largest wealth transfer from low and middle class people to the uber wealthy. We now have trillionaires, something that we didn't have before. And these are the people that were paying for their own private insurance. And these were the people that were able to afford all of these things. So now they're worse off. We have a larger class of government welfare people. And it's just, I agree with you. Where do we go from here? And I think people are absolutely seeing that. And they're like, we've tried this and it's not working. At least I hope that's what they're seeing.
Okay, so let me grab a couple of these super chats if I can. I got tons of them coming in. As long as it says, we hate you with a thumbs up. Well, $2, you can say that. Tell me whatever you want. You can hate me all day. No worries. Keep clicking that like button. Just show me how much you hate me by clicking the like button. Please do that. Yes.
You can't call me
goes
evil
on,
for less than $5.
Yes, there we go. Yes, call me evil. It's $5. So yes. As long as he goes on to say, super chat you where he did. Where is the rest? Yes, people. Do you want to make these people unhappy? You gotta hook me up. You have to. Lunatic, thank you for the $5. The security provided from the government is an illusion. We have so many examples. These systems are facades. Bring back community, not communism. Yes, yes, and yes. 100% yes. Man, Lunatic, you are knocking it out of the park tonight. Look at you go. This is exactly correct. It is an illusion, 100%. And we have a gazillion examples. And of course, we want to bring back community because community can protect you better than communism. Of course it can. There was an old joke. And it was like a picture of like an old Greek woman, and she's hanging outside of an apartment room window looking down. And they said, old school surveillance system. Right. Right. She's out the window looking around.
Those who've lived out in their community might not, the newer generation might not remember that. I got a lot of that in Venezuela. So that was a great security system.
Be here.
Everybody knew what time you needed to be home.
Correct.
And if you were late, they knew what you were up to. Absolutely. We've lost that community. A lot of part
I do worry about that.
Used to be able to be, I remember growing up in the 70s, be down the block. And if I'm running late to, lights are going out, mom knew where I was before I even started to go to the house. Just the parents talking.
Yep.
And and there were no cell phones back then, guys. They had rotary phones. And they would just, call up, hey, Ellen, he's in the backyard, So, there you go.
But moms were also home. Right. I think it was just different times. And we've given up on a lot of things to have a lifestyle or whatever. We've given up on a lot of these things.
So let's try to get back to this issue, though. This is going to be a tight race. I think everyone knows that. If you look at polling 1 week, it looks like Harris is going to win. The next day, it looks like Trump's going to win. Next day, it looks like Harris is going to win. Next day, it's a tie. Next day, Harris is going to win. Next day, Trump's going to win. This looks like it's tight because it's 7 states, give or take? And depending upon who's going to get maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them, whatever it is, couldn't this be
This
moved
is the most important election of our lifetime.
I didn't say important.
This one is the one.
No, I didn't say important. I did not say that. Don't get me in trouble, Martha. That's not what I said. I said the closest. I didn't say most important. I feel
I'm
like
saying the most important. Every election since I can remember is the most important, and this one, by golly, is the most important. Get out and vote.
I'm saying it's the closest. And with it being so close, the poll, most of the polling is within the margin of error. So even if Harris or Trump is winning, they're winning by 1 or 2 points, and the margin of error is 2 or 3, right? So even when either one is winning any given poll, you still find, and even those people who are saying one or other is going to win, right? You look at some of those betting odds and stuff, some of those, it's never more than like 55% chance, 52% chance, 58% chance. Isn't the things we're talking about right now, race, in this case, Black and Hispanic, couldn't this literally be the race?
It will be the race.
I'm sorry, affect the election.
It will be the race. But something to understand, and people need to understand this. When you're looking at the polls, I know every team will say, oh, here's a poll that they found that is great for them and bad for the other guy. And they'll see, that's the poll. No. You should look at the aggregate of all the polls that you can find over time. Sure. I look at Real Clear Politics. It's an independent site, has them all listed, and I track the full time span. And what we're seeing over time is telling us a very clear answer. There has been a steady and consistent support for Donald Trump, no matter what news has happened, no matter what's been going on in the world, and it has been increasing. Kamala is very new to the scene, and she's already pretty much plateaued and is starting to dip down. And the reason for that is she is at the same time losing Black, Arab, Hispanic voters. We've already seen Muslims for Kamala Harris disband. We've already seen Dearborn, Michigan is going into non-committed. And we're seeing Black males are absolutely abandoning her because saying that she's a black woman isn't convincing. That's not a reason or reason enough to vote for her.
All right,
given
hold
the
on.
economics.
I'm going to show you what you just said. You just said Real Clear. I just went there.
Yeah.
This is Real Clear.
Go to the
Real
5-way, not a head-to-head.
Here's right there.
No, not the head-to-head. The 5-way.
What do you want?
The 5-way.
Okay, how do I find it?
Go up to it. See where it says election 2024? Up at the top.
Yeah, see that? Yep.
Click it.
Yep.
Go to the national multi-candidate. That's the 5-way.
Okay, here we go.
That's the real race.
There we go.
That includes
this
all
is
the
Harris and
parties.
Trump. No one's higher than 6
Scroll
points
down.
either way.
Scroll down.
I am.
That's the real
No one's
race.
higher than 6 points.
That's the chart. That's what
and
I
that's
just
Harris
described.
by 2 points, which is that's the margin of error.
I understand that, but look at the trend of what you have seen with Donald Trump. He started off at 41%.
Oh, now you're just pulling shit out of your ass now. Stop that. Stop that.
That's
Come on.
exactly what I just
Come on.
described. And what I'm describing is, and that is a series of over a dozen, if not 24 polls consistently over time. What have we seen?
And yes, look consistently over time. What changed? Harris got in the game. When Harris got in the game, Democrats got motivated.
So did Republicans.
And that's a fact.
I don't know how this even happened. I honestly, I don't understand it. Maybe I don't have enough Democrat friends, but the party of democracy are supporting a woman who nobody voted for at all.
Yes.
This is a complete violation of all things that people are screaming for democracy. And I don't get it. I don't get how there's a head-to-head tie. Yes, I understand that people on the left think that Donald Trump is this, evil person and they have TDS and they suffer from this, but I don't understand how Harris is the solution.
I will tell you why. And I've been saying this forever. And you guys who don't like Democrats, you don't understand the most important thing. And Bill Maher said this like a year or two ago. There were two people on the left saying exactly the opposite thing. They were going, why do Republican people vote for Republicans? It's so dumb. Democrats are better. They don't care. They were saying exactly something you were saying, the opposite. They were saying it. And Bill Maher said to them, don't you get it? They're like, no, they hate you. That's why they hate you. And they hate you because they think you hate them. The reason why people don't want to vote for Donald Trump and vote for Harris is they hate Trump. That's the reason. It's that simple. They hate Trump. They think they have no option. So they vote the opposite. They hate Trump. I get it. I hear it all the time. And so do you.
That's true. Yeah.
This is not about logic. It never has. It drives Mike crazy. It's never about logic. It's about emotion. That's what it's about. And it may be the problem, but it's true. That's accurate. You cannot like it, but it's still true. Either way,
that's why we're having.
Look at what I just showed you. Hold on. If you look at what I just showed you, you will see an all of a sudden pick up in Harris in the Democrats when Biden withdrew, because it motivated Harris. Now, I'll give you an anecdotal story, which I've heard 1,000 times. I'm in a car. I'm in an Uber in DC, and the driver is a young black man. And I ask him, I say, you thinking about voting this year? He's like, I wasn't gonna. I said, you weren't? He goes, nah, I don't care about Biden, blah, 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 blah. Didn't like Biden at all. I said, what changed? He goes, Harris. He goes, what? He called her Kamala. He said, when Kamala came on board, me and my boys, we went and we got registered. That's what he told me.
Okay, you know why?
All the time. I go to events.
Let me explain something.
Junior events, and I hear that.
Let me explain something. You had a choice earlier. The choice was for Democrats. Gee, aren't you motivated because you have a part-time zombie who is representing your party and the country? Aren't you motivated to vote for part-time zombies? No one is. The undead are horrible. No one wants to be led by the undead.
I mean, vampires are kind of cool.
Put in someone who isn't undead, who can actually make a sentence, mind you, not a good sentence, not a sense that makes a lot of sense, but she can actually make a sentence that almost makes sense. And suddenly you have gone from literally the bar to surpass was buried 6 feet under the ground. And then came Kamala Harris. She's barely.
So you've explained why I'm right, is what you just did. Okay. You said, let me explain why you're right, Larry. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm still right.
Isn't the motivate. Here's the thing. Yes. Are they more motivated than before? Sure.
Yes.
But that's also when we saw the splinter really expose itself. That's when black men, that's when many Hispanics, that's when many Muslims all broke from the party. Because when they got that difference, yes, the initial surge, we have someone who isn't undead. Great. Then they actually looked at it and go, but there's no substance here. We went from the undead to the invisible woman. There's nothing there.
And nothing's changed. You just saw the polling. The polling has not changed. You're saying she's losing. Harris is not losing. This is a fantasy, my friend.
No,
Harris is not losing. This is a tight game,
The
and
poly markets have Harris ahead, and I think that is very telling. The poly markets, the betting has her ahead, which is why I keep saying I don't understand.
100%.
No,
because
she's
yes.
By my, I have an elaborate system of how I look at it. She's losing by probably 3, which means giving the margin of error that puts the race at she's 1 under.
I know your
system. They've tried to assassinate Trump now at least twice.
That's my point.
And I think that you know, it's wild. Any other time that would have made him surge, especially after that iconic photo. I mean, he's coming out and saying, Ross, I'm going to free you, which he posted yesterday or the day before on his Twitter. I mean, he's telling libertarians that he's going to end the Department of Education. Like, he's throwing out all the stops. He's into Bitcoin now, so he gets that community. I mean, he's just like everything everyone wants. He's the Republican Santa Claus, and he's still not surging. I don't get what's going on here.
They're killing the stories.
They hate him.
Yes, they hate him, and they kill the stories. You know how many?
Hold on, I'm gonna go one more step, but you guys are not getting. I don't know why you're getting this. Do you understand how many women see him and Vance and think they're going to destroy all my rights?
Of course,
that's exactly what they see. And you're going to explain why or whatever. I don't give 2 shits why. I know it's true. It is an accurate. And not just that, still to this day, there are more registered Democrats than Republicans in this country.
Yeah.
There are about 50 million registered Democrats and only about 40 million registered Republicans. For Republicans to think this is a done deal, you are smoking crack. This is not a done deal.
I never said it's a done deal.
This is a tight race.
However, everybody who was for RFK, especially in the swing states, votes for Trump, Trump would have this in a landslide.
But they're not gonna, because a lot of those RFK people are women who don't like Trump and they don't like anything he stands for. And there are a lot of RFK people who only wanted one aspect. And if they don't get that one aspect, they're gonna go back to being Democrats.
I mean, the Democratic Party has left Democrats, as we said earlier. The Democratic Party is now the party of warmongers and wars, which is something that is so not traditionally.
All right, so you're right, but here's the other example. And I'm gonna give you this one now too. I'm gonna go to Arabs real fast because you guys just want to yell at me about stuff. That's fine. You can yell at me. I don't mind. I'm a big boy.
I'm trying to address it all.
All right, this is recent. This is July, and this shows Arab American voters. Look at how many will walk away from Harris. To your point, Michael, they walk away from Harris, but they don't go Trump. They go Stein. Look at that huge chunk that says, okay, we don't like Harris because you're right, Mike. We agree with you that she's bad, but we're not going to go Trump because we hate him too. So we're going Stein. That number is an insane number for Stein. I'm not anti-Stein. I like Stein. I bet her. She's nice. I like her.
It's a political statement. It's not about her winning. They're just making a political statement. It has nothing to do with Jill Stein. They don't care about Jill Stein. It's just that she's third party, therefore it doesn't hurt anyone. And
why aren't they going Chase Oliver or Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Because they didn't have an Arab vice president.
You think that's the issue?
If their vice presidential pick was an Arab, they would have voted for them, or you would have seen a mix of them all going up.
Her vice president is not an Arab. Her vice president is black, but he's a Muslim. He's a black Muslim.
Clarification. Sorry. I shouldn't. I misstated that, and I apologize. That's unfair of me. He is Muslim, correct? And that's, of course, part of the reason why you're seeing them go to there, because you don't get that in. Chase has Mike Termott, and I don't know who Dr. Cornel West has. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
Cornel West has a Muslim also.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. I'm in the complete darkness. I am going to jump off, gentlemen. I don't know what's going on with my lights, but thank you so much.
Guys, good talking to you, Martha. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Guys, if you want to follow Martha, please follow her on Twitter. You can follow her if you would be so kind of do so. You can follow her at, see if I can find out where she is. You can follow her at Bueno for Miami on Twitter if you want to. You can follow Mike on Rumble at No Soundbites Allowed. If you like what you're saying, please click the button that is like, as I ask you all the time. Share us if you can, and subscribe. All these things matter to get this show moving. It really does matter. I want us to be doing more and more of that if we can. The more of that we can do, the better. So, but this is my point, Mike, that I'm making.
Oh, go ahead.
Trump doesn't get those votes. He gets very few of those, right?
Yeah.
This group goes to Stein and says, to hell with it, to hell with it all.
Yeah, but they're trying to, by the way, folks, Martha has a wonderful story. When you go to her Twitter, you'll see a story about what happened to her family. I think it's very important. It affects everyone in the nation. You should check that out. But yes, of course, they're going to Stein because it's safe. She's far left. They're Democrats or leftists. And so they're going and supporting the left. They're making a political statement to the Democrats. Our faction within your party is going to punish you by supporting still someone on the left. They're not going to help the right because they don't believe in anything that's conservative or right leaning. So they still want to support the left and make that safe, but they're going to keep the votes away from Kamala Harris so that in the future they can sue for peace, that the Democratic Party will bow to their desires and suddenly start funding terrorists like Hamas. That's what they want, and that's what they're going to get. These are the Dearborn, Michigan voters, and they have 100,000 votes. That is enough to absolutely sink Democrats.
That's my worry. Yes, that is my worry, Mike. I think you're right, right? If you're a Democrat now and you're like, well, we're going to win Michigan. Not if 100,000 Muslims vote for Jill Stein, you're not.
No.
Right? No, you're not. You got to get those 100,000 Muslims to go, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll vote for Harris. I mean, look, I know they're trying. They've sent Waltz there. They are trying. But what I haven't seen is the equivalent of what Stein has done, to your point, right? Stein has a real Muslim who can show up, talk the talk, walk the walk, right? Do all the stuff that Muslims go, yeah, he's one of us. I get it, right? They can connect to this guy.
Right.
And so could Cornel West, by the way. He also picked a Muslim. So that's someone too, right? But he picked, I think, a woman, if I'm not mistaken. Jill Stein picked a male. So I don't see where Harris's Muslim guy is, right? To show up and do the thing. Maybe she doesn't. And that's a freaking problem. If I'm Harris, I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna pull Muhammad Ali out of the grave and I'm gonna have to show up. I'm gonna do something. I gotta find an answer.
Instead, they're pointing out that she's black, and that's the answer. Black. The answer to, I don't have a Muslim. I don't have policies that the Muslim community in Dearborn will accept. I'm not going to go full-throated support of Hamas, the terrorist organization. So instead, she focuses on, but I am black, and you have to vote for me because I'm black. And it's not about religion. It's about I'm black and I'm breaking through the ceiling. It's about the compartmentalization of the Democratic Party, and in particular, our politics overall, in reducing people to check boxes. And this election is the most blatantly obvious about this than any election in my lifetime. We have never before seen it so obvious that here is the checkbox. That is you. That means you do X or Y or Z, depending on the boxes that you click off. And it is amazing to me how they have dehumanized minorities to such a huge extent. And they think that they will capitalize on that. This is why we are seeing so many groups of minorities stepping away. And Democrats are freaking out. If they're not getting 80% of the black vote at a minimum, they are in danger of losing. And they're freaking out that they're getting 56% of black men. They can't have that. It endangers their political power. And black men are saying, I don't care that you think you're African American and you have been East Indian and your policies suck. At every level, you are inefficient, ineffective, and unappealing. Therefore, why are we voting for you? And they don't have an answer for that other than racist, sexist, and one of the other ists and phobes.
You're always an isterophobe. So yes,
always.
Lunatic Libertarian, thank you for the $2. I'll buy my way into your panel one of these days. All right, you win. I'll have you in a panel. I'll reach out to you. Done day. See, easy. Bribe me. I'm totally bribable. See that? At least I'm open. I'm transparent. I'm transparently bribable. There we go. So Slongy, thank you. We'll have got $5 in that bet at I don't know what bet we're talking about, but yes, take the bet. $5. There is the bet that he spoke about. Let me grab some comments if I can. I have a lot of them. I do want to start grabbing some of them. So many people have been popping up. So let me try this.
We got
the AC says, yep, they all sing, served their owners/donors. We have the best government that money can buy. Sadly, that is true, AC. Yeah. I wish you were wrong. Martha believes it, and she's more hardcore than I am. But her point is a valid point. I have seen it. I've seen it more than once. Mike has been pushed out of parties because he wouldn't play ball. Mike's seen it too. You don't play ball and make sure everybody could grift. You're not good enough for us. They don't care if your policies are good. Well, you got to grift the right way. Well, I don't want to grift. I want to be honest. Oh, we can't have that. So I do think there's a lot of that. I agree.
Yeah, and Republicans did it to me. So just to be clear, it's not all just Democrats. I'm upset with Democrats because they're the ones in power right now. But yeah, Republicans do it too, to an extent, lesser, but to an extent.
Christine says this administration bankrupted FEMA by rerouting funds and resources to illegals. Yes. I think a lot of people are with you, Christine, on this. And I think if you would go back a month ago, you'd have less people on your side. But this hurricane, I think it opened up a lot of eyes. I think now people are like, damn, that's real. When if you go back 2 months, a lot of people are kind of asleep because if the migrants weren't affecting your city, it was just something you saw on TV, right? It wasn't that you're like, well, whatever. It can't be that bad. How bad could it be? A lot of people were kind of like in their own world. But now a lot of people know somebody who was in North Carolina or see that and go, why isn't government helping?
But it's not just.
And then they see this and they go, wait a minute, this migrant. I think this makes the migrant deal a whole lot bigger.
It makes it more personal and it's more. It hits a lot of people in the heartstrings because it's not just North Carolina. North Carolina may be the biggest thing, but we got Florida, we've got Georgia that have had the devastation. Other areas, other states are having some lesser impacts, flooding and such, but they're the worst off. But they're the focal point at the moment. But what we're going to see is the same thing that we've seen with the 3 attempted assassination attempts on Donald Trump, what we've seen about the part-time zombie of Joe Biden, every negative that will not fortify the 2024 election has been dropped. I mean, literally within about 2 to 3 days. This story is going to be dropped as fast as is possible, and they are already attempting to downplay and walk away from that story. But the problem is you can't, because the consequences are obvious and apparent for everyone. And this is what's driving more and more people. How many minorities are in North Carolina, who are in Georgia, who are in Florida, who are being affected sometimes the worst? Now, and poor communities overall are devastated by what's happening here. And the Biden-Harris administration, and more so government in total, because they're just the most recent example of the overreach of government and how it has failed. It's trying to micromanage so much, it cannot work efficiently or effectively. And people are suddenly seeing it. It's that this summer has been eye-opening in how inefficient our government is.
I agree. Stu says, thank you for the $5, my friend. I meant I would have paid $5 to be on one of your panels. How cheap do you think I am, Stu? How cheap do you think I am? Oh, come on. I'm not cheap. I'm actually pretty cheap, but it's fine. I bring a lot of people on my panel shows. I do. And I see me. I bring a lot of people on my panel shows. I'm happy to have people on. I try to engage this audience often. I do my damnedest to engage this audience. Many people who've listened have been on my show before, maybe years ago, back on. I do it all the time. So I'm not against bringing members on. Michael, someone would be like, where'd you get this guy? And I'd be like, oh, they reached out. He's like, oh, okay. That's literally happened before. It's like, I don't know this guy. Yeah, I don't know either. So yeah. So, but the thing that
I found Larry at a talking event and said, hey,
that's true.
Let's go.
Yes, that's true. But the thing that is weird here that I have is I do worry about people canceling on me. That does happen sometimes. Sometimes people don't take the show seriously and they don't realize how much time and energy you have to put into it. And again, I work during the day. So I have to work during the day and then still make this show work somehow. And then sometimes people cancel on me. You ever notice how often you see Mike on the show?
Yeah. He's good. And I look great.
Accurate. These are 2 accurate things. Correct. But the number one reason is if I call this guy, he'll be able to talk about anything. So I call him like, dude, they canceled on me. Can you show up tonight? He's like, fine. That's why he's on so often.
Usually it's about 3 minutes pre-notice. Can you be on in 3 minutes? Yeah, I can be on in 3 minutes.
That is the norm.
Do I get what the subject is? You don't need to know. Okay, whatever.
We'll figure it out when the time comes. That's sadly true. So I do like that. There we go. So Stu says, I meant $10 cheap. Okay, you doubled your I'm now in. See? You now doubled it, so we're all good. I do appreciate though, guys. Seriously, I appreciate all the super chats tremendously. I do like that. The AC says, yes, it's pushed by Tucker Carlson, not a progressive. And AC's right, and I brought this up. I was teasing you, but I'm serious. Tucker Carlson, who is clearly right-leaning, obviously right-leaning, clearly supports Republicans over Democrats, clearly does so. He would tell you that. He would agree with that. Now he's not a Fox News guy anymore. He has openly promoted the idea of this kind of great replacement thing. He's talked about it.
Yeah, I never said that there are people who don't. I said that the group is smaller than what the news media, especially the left-wing news media, has been. And look at what happened. So Tucker gave his opinion. Fantastic. It's his opinion. He had a show to do that. And then look at the magnification that came from all the rest of the left-leaning news media in unison at the same time, magnifying the story and trying to expand it beyond where Tucker first put it. And Tucker, again, he's pointing out a correlation that does exist. At the core, there are facts to this. The media then blew it up because they wanted to demonize. And this was the easy way to just gloss over any of the details, any of the reasoning behind it, and just go racist. And that's it. That's their one-word answer to this. Racist.
Yeah, but you're acting like this is not a Republican thing. And the point is, it is and I'm going to put some of these points up. It is hypocritical, right? Because the AC goes on to say the last two American politicians who advocated for open borders was George Bush Sr. and Ronald Reagan when they were debating in the 80s. Noted liberal progressives they were. Valid point. He's right. That's true. Peter goes on to say, Peter goes on to say, AC's point is given the data Larry showed, it would be to Republicans' benefit to embrace immigrants rather than demonize them with their rhetoric. And I think that is also a back and forth that makes a lot of sense. Last one I'll bring up, David said, the great replacement is getting hyped on social media. Most people are more concerned about abortion, gun control, the carbon capture pipeline in the Midwest, and keeping IVF treatments legal. So I gave you 3 things, Mike. Go. Okay,
well, a lot. Reagan was looking to, and did in fact, he wasn't keeping the border open. He was trying to say,
he was for amnesty.
He was for a temporary amnesty so that it would never have to be done in the future. In fact, his wording was, I'll do this now so we don't do it again. He was very clear about this. He was trying to close and deal because he couldn't deport everyone all at once. So he said, I'll take these in and we'll close the border. So let's take that into full context. I agree with, what was that last one? Bring that back, the last one up.
Which one?
The very last one.
This one? Oh, no. This one.
So, yes, he agrees with me. It is getting hyped.
He does.
Because it was hyped out of belief.
Yep.
And it is correct. It is a distraction from the fact that gun control, massive issue, and a massive violation of the Second Amendment is being purported by the left right now under this. We're just like you. We own guns. That's why the Second Amendment should be broken. Just like John Kerry. Oh, we just like you Americans. And that's why we have to break the First Amendment. It's insane that we are hearing this. These are the distractions that are meant to keep us confused as they have government that continues to grow. And I'm not saying that Republicans are perfect, but they are nowhere near in the category of destruction of our core beliefs, our core constitution, our core economy, as what we are seeing in the constant movement towards the left that we see exemplified by Tim Walz and by Kamala Harris in this election. And that's why you're seeing so many people of color who are directly affected because they are gun owners, because they have concerns about their health care that have been failed by the past, because they are affected by the economy most directly. That's why we're seeing this. And they don't want to be replaced by other groups of people who are getting the benefits that should be going to them. We're spending $5 billion, you know this, $5 billion in New York City a year for illegal aliens that could be going to North Carolina or, more importantly, to the homeless we have in New York City.
Yep, New York, 100%.
We're wasting money on the wrong thing.
Stu says, pleasure listening to you, Mike. Thank you for the $5. And Larry, I need to grab dinner. I hope we can hook up in the future. Thank you, brother, for the $5. I appreciate it.
Stu, thank you very much. And I'm just appreciating that you're paying attention and catching all the details. And hell, I made it to the good list.
You made it to the good list on top of it. Look at that. I love that. All right. Let's see if I grab a couple more of these if I can. Christine is not happy. She says 43% of my income is going to taxes. Boy, do I know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, do I know that feeling. Now, for those of you to know, I'm an official member of the professional managerial class. I am. So that means I make a decent amount of money in New York City. I live in New York City and I have to pay for 4 people. And that's on me. So I make a decent amount of cash. And the amount of cash that I make, over 43%. For me, it's like 48, 40. It's a lot. Because New York City, I live in New York City. It's like New York City state tax, the state tax. I get all the taxes. I get hammered. So yes, I'm with you completely. I do feel it. I'm with you.
You know what I notice a lot of people are starting to wonder, and you hear this a lot, is that people are saying, in terms of the taxes that they're paying, how much is enough? You're not paying your fair share. The rich aren't paying their fair share. The middle class aren't. What's the fair share? What's the number? I mean, we know that the top 5% are paying over 70% in taxes. I just had a conversation when I was getting my hair cut today.
No, not in taxes. You mean of the taxes?
Of the taxes. No, they're paying, 70% of all taxes collected by the government are from the top 5%. I have a gentleman when I'm in today, and he was telling me, there's just not the taxes. We just need to take more in taxes. I'm like, you do realize roughly about 51, 52% of the entire nation gets a refund. He says, yeah, but it's not enough of a refund. They need to have more of a refund, but we need more taxes. I'm like, none of this makes sense. People have so many stories that they're being told, they're getting confused. And
this is the problem because shit doesn't work, right? Look, I don't want to pay taxes. I'm libertarian. Of course I don't. But I wouldn't be so angry. I wouldn't be as angry if my city actually worked, right? So like if my city actually worked, I would still not want to pay taxes, but I wouldn't be so pissed off, right? I get pissed off when I can't get a decent subway, which is constant. I get pissed off when traffic is terrible, which is constant. I get pissed off when the fucking everything's so goddamn loud that I can't do anything in my city because everything's so goddamn loud. I get pissed off when there's homeless people everywhere and no one's taking care of them. I get pissed off when my daughter gets afraid to go on a goddamn subway. Yeah, I get pissed off on all those things. If none of that existed, I still would want to pay taxes, but at least I wouldn't be so damn angry about it. To Christine's point, I'm dropping 43% of what I earn to taxes, and my city doesn't work. If the city worked, Mike, less people would be unhappy, is all I'm saying. It isn't the number. It's nothing works. And I'm exaggerating when I say nothing, but it feels like nothing works.
And most of it isn't, because it is breaking. And it's breaking because it's a purposive plan. And something that Christine mentions there is, and it's a key word, legal migrant. No one has a problem with legal migrants. No one is complaining about legal migrants. On the right, the center, nobody ever mentions legal migrants. It's the reason why I always say illegal aliens, because they have broken the law. You can say criminal migrants if you would like, if that makes you feel any better, but it's because that's the problem that's breaking the system. And they're doing this, and it's affecting, again, who is being affected the most? Urban areas, the poor in those urban areas, which has a high density and a percentage of people of color and minorities. And that's why you're seeing, you can only do this, have this kind of disregard and disrespect and disinterest for so long, and they've been doing it for decades now, before it backlashes against you, and you're seeing it in the numbers, which is why Democrats are desperate. They're terrified, which is why they're focusing on women more than anything else. Black women and women in general, because that makes up for the men and the Arabic factions that are absolutely abandoning them.
Let me grab a couple of these here. If I could, I have so many more of these. I want to keep grabbing them because people have popped up so much. Pickable asks a very important question. He says, "Where do the Kennedy voters go when he's taken out of the poll?" We have data on this already. It's actually slightly more to Trump, but it isn't by much. It's like 55, 45 like that go to Trump, and a bunch go nowhere. They either go to third party or don't show up or they get out. But of those who are voting Democrat or Republican, it's about Trump by about 10%. About Trump by about 10% of those. Yeah.
Now, there is a caveat to that. When the Democrats anointed Kamala Harris and threw out the part-time zombie president, then that's when you saw the initial switch from RFK voters. There were a lot of Democrats who were on the RFK ticket as a protest against the part-time zombie. And so once they replaced that, they had a new hurdle, they switched back. And so you saw a shift instantly on that. And then came the second shift when he went with Donald Trump. So that's why you see that difference and why it's so heavily towards Trump now. The initial switch were Democrats coming back to the Democratic Party. That's something that a lot of people don't talk about. So,
okay.
The ones who are left now are more hardcore third parties.
So the anti-corporate goes on. AC says that, yeah, the term colonize is so loaded. I much prefer bringing civilization to you brown heathen savages. That kind of sounds worse. AC, sarcasm. Didn't get it. That kind of sounds worse. Okay,
well,
there
just
we go.
take out the brown, and I agree with the statement.
There we go. Thomas says, Trump gives strong alpha male vibes. I've always said that Trump projects strength very well. He doesn't project empathy very well. And whenever that comes up, whenever the RNC does stuff for him, they always get him to do empathy better because he needs it. Like when he was being grandpa at the RNC, I mean, that was gold for him, right? He was able to project empathy, being a grandfather, being a human being, right? It was very good. You're saying no, and you're incorrect. People talk about that shit all the time, Mike, because you like strength.
It did
like
nothing
strength
for me.
I know, but you like strength part. Lots of people like empathy. And he was able to do that at the RNC. And I think that helped him tremendously. Whenever Trump is able to project empathy, I think it helps him because he does. You're right. He projects strength very well. He's not great at empathy. It's not a skill set. Who is good at projecting empathy is RFK Jr. He's good at projecting empathy. He needs to project more strength. He's not as good at projecting strength, but he's very good at empathy. And Biden from 15 years ago, 10 years ago, was very good at empathy. He was,
15.
But of course, the master was still Bill Clinton. I feel your pain. That guy could project empathy and better than anybody. He was so good at that. He was like I want to give you a hug. He was great. Anyway, different ones.
Yeah.
Let me grab a go. Kim, you're here. Thank you. I saw your thing. You are home. Thank you. Black population is believed to be more programmable by the Democrat agenda. I agree with you. I think Democrats take the black population for granted completely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Black population can see what's going on. RFK leaving the party had made a big statement to many blacks. I don't know about that, right? I look at the black population and RFK Jr. and there is a thing that doesn't land well. Let me give you the piece. Older black men do have an affinity for the Kennedys. That's true. They particularly if you're 70s, 80s, they have an affinity. That's accurate. But it doesn't mean they'll vote for them. But they have a natural like for the Kennedy idea. If you're a black man in your 70s and 80s, odds are you have an affinity for the Kennedy name. It feels good to you because you remember it, right? But it doesn't mean you're going to vote for him. But that's true. But most of the black population, Kennedy talks to black celebrities very well. He doesn't talk to black people very well. That's not one of the things he's done well. Am I wrong, Mike? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. But I also think that the black community overall had no idea who RFK was. I mean, yeah, he's a Kennedy, but that's generic Kennedy.
Correct.
They knew nothing about him or his politics per se. They just knew Democrat. Well, okay, so he's a Democrat like every other Democrat, and he is. Yeah. But that's all they knew. And when he broke, they just said, okay, this is weird. And they didn't get a chance to find out more about why, because then RFK got hit with a news media blackout, which I think is absolutely insulting and a violation of First Amendment. And so they were denied. The political junkies were more aware. That's you, that's me. There's a lot of people in that group, but we're a small sliver. I don't think most black people knew anything about it until he basically joined Trump. Then they heard about it, really.
Yeah. Mike says, I've worn a MAGA hat in New York City, and I get young black guys saying to me, I F with Trump. Yes, I have seen the same. I'm with you. I've seen the same. And I find that with one of the most popular libertarians now is Maj Touré. Yeah. Maj Touré is out of Philly. And those were literally his words. So yes, 100%. Yeah, that was literally his words. 100%. Yes.
Good man, Maj. I love Maj.
Liberty Odess says, your dog sounds like the bears that got into my garbage 2 days ago.
He likes the water bottles. I don't drink, really. I drink tap water. I don't care, which is probably why I'm healthier than like so many people, because I drink tap water. But I do get some water bottles just so that he can have it and he can just crunch it up. He loves that. And then you can hear it. He's just, he goes crazy.
Yes, on it. Absolutely. So Morgan says, just shared on Facebook. Thank you for all your time. Thank you, Morgan. Every share matters, guys. Please like, please share. It does matter. Please become a member if you can. And not just that, if you can subscribe, it really does matter. 100%. Yes. The AC goes on to say, thank you for being a member, AC. Do you know who doesn't lie? The guy who wrote in Sharpie on a map that a hurricane was going to hit Alabama, when, as far as I know, no hurricane was hitting Alabama in the last two. Oh, well, there we go. He knew what he was doing. Look at that. Sometimes you can trust the science. Duh. Look at that. Look at that. I love that. So Morgan asks, now he's going to get us in trouble. I shouldn't have put this one up. What do you all think about race is a social construct?
The same people who think that gender is a social construct would probably agree with that. And that's because they're insane.
Well, here's what I would say. It is both yes and no. And what I mean by that is we have created a culture that says it is so. Therefore, some people believe it to be so. So it has become yes because we've told people that it is a thing. So some people actually believe it.
Okay.
So that's why I would say it is yes and no. The
Just
second
because,
piece, hold on, let me finish.
Oh, I was eager to jump on this.
Because now we start doing things like passing laws, rules, regulations that then also validate it as a social construct. So then more and more people start believing it. So social constructs matter. They really do, because before you know it, it becomes law. And now people are going to jail, people losing their livelihoods, people are getting arrested, people are losing money because of a social construct. So we shouldn't laugh at things becoming a social construct. It really does matter. It affects people's lives.
Okay. Because we legislate social constructs that are and a social experiment tends to be evil. We are legislating evil. I mean, think of the Salem.
I'm not going to fight you on that.
I'm not fighting you. So I don't give credibility to these social constructs. There are certain facts that exist. You may want to say, well, the world is round as a social construct. No, it's round. Okay, period. You may say, well, but I want to believe, and in my truth, the world is flat. Fantastic. You're demented. But that doesn't change the reality.
But it does, Mike. It does. No, it does. It does. Because what happens is enough people believe that. Hold on. Enough people believe that. Then they pass a law saying that you have to teach the world is flat in school. And then if you don't teach the world is flat in school, you lose your job as a teacher. And if you go out in social media and say the world is round, because we all know it's flat because the law says it's flat, even though it's round, they say it. Now you can't be on social media anymore. And before you know it, they fire you because you can't say this crazy stuff on social media. Everybody knows the world is flat because the government says so.
Thank you for telling me. We are now just going over the story of 1984, the book, or more likely, we live in Beijing right now in China, because that's what they do. But let's understand that that doesn't justify it. In fact, that's why we have to fight against it, and we must fight against it at all times. So when they say, no, but this is the law, you can't do that. This is why we must do it, especially in America, where we have God-given rights by birth. And every time they try to take away from that to magnify the power of government, to increase the overreach of government, we must say no. And the penalty that they try to place upon us, we will fight against. And I do mean that legally. You can go to the courts. You can protest that. And when I say protest, I don't mean arson, burn down a building like Antifa and the left do. I mean that you actually stand up with a sign and just make your case without having to harm other people's lives. We can make the difference, and we have to recognize just because you call it a thing doesn't make it that thing. Just because they legislate it doesn't make it correct. And once we start capitulating and we lie down and accept, well, they legislated it. Now you've lost everything. You're no longer a human being. You're a slave, and they can tell you to do anything.
All right. Let me grab some. We got some Medicare.
Does that make sense?
Here.
Do you understand what I'm saying, though, Larry?
I do.
Okay. I'm not saying you have to agree with it, but as long as it's understood.
I get it. I just know that when people start passing laws, everything is what it is because the law says so. That's how it works.
They said slavery was it was good by law. So were witch hunts, and I think
and a whole lot of slaves were still slaves. A lot of people got burned by witches. So yes, burned as witches. Yes. Anyway, Texas is one of 10 states that has not expanded Medicaid under the ACA. We're the least insured state. It's a problem. I agree, right? The problem is we don't have an answer. That's the issue. Mm-hmm. I agree it's a problem, 100%. We don't have an answer. That's the issue. All the answer that I keep getting is what AC wants. AC wants Medicare for all, right? Because the divide in America has gotten to the point where if you're poor, the government kind of takes care of you. It's true, kind of. If you're rich, you don't give a shit because you take care of yourself. Yes, and this is why, and be clear. And a lot of people don't like when I say this, but I want to be honest about this. When most people say Medicare for all, they don't mean Medicare for all. They mean Medicare for y'all. All the rich people keep their private doctors. They all go to private doctors. The doctors don't take insurance. For those who don't know, here's how Cadillac insurance actually works. Cadillac insurance is that you can go wherever you want, and the insurance company will pay you a certain percentage or a certain fee if you give them a receipt. That's Cadillac insurance. So I go to any doctor I want, right? Cadillac insurance, I drop $150 to go see my doctor, whatever amount that he charges. Some charge more, some charge less, whatever. I get seen, I get a good doctor, he talks to me, spends an hour with me, like 20 minutes, whatever, I have a good time, whatever, and I leave. I submit that receipt, and I get whatever, $30 or whatever I get, or nothing. So that's Cadillac insurance. I get some part of that back, right? Or sometimes you get more, but you get some part. But you get to go to private doctors. The Medicare, AC, all that, you don't. You go to the doctors that are in your system, all that stuff. They take insurance. They don't care. So if I'm rich, take Medicare. I'm not going there. I don't care. You can get crappy doctors. I don't care. There's already you might say, well, Larry, they're all crappy doctors. No, but the best doctors, I know, I live in New York City. The best doctors do not take insurance in New York City. And you might go, Larry, you're insulting doctors. I'm not. That's the reality. The wealthy people go to private doctors. They don't go to doctors to take insurance. That's how it works. And that's never going to stop. They're never going to outlaw this stuff. They're going to make sure private people get, and my plan has always been, give everybody cool private doctors. They're great. I know. I've been to them. They're great. You actually have an appointment at 3:00. They see you at 3:00. And actually, they don't overbook you. That doesn't happen because you're swiping your credit card or you're writing them a check. It's actually pretty good. We should all have that. And we can. And there are some examples of that in America. I found a couple of those in Oklahoma right now that can do it. So I don't want Medicare for all, not because I don't want people to be covered, because I want to have a better system. And I'm not against what you're saying, Peter Bell. If I don't have a system, which we don't, fine, expand it, cover people. But that's a Band-Aid. That is by no means an answer. That's a Band-Aid so I don't have people dying in the streets. I'm in. But we got to find a better answer. ACA is not the right answer long-term at all. I'm sorry, I yapped away, but this is my world, Mike. Go ahead.
I know, but ACA was never meant the problem with the ACA was never meant to be a solution. It's meant to be government able to control your health care. And it is effective at that. Again, it's emergency care and middling emergency care at that. Mm-hmm. But there is an answer. And I saw a lot of people during the lockdowns, a lot of doctors, there were many protests in upstate New York. I covered many of them with a lot of doctors, talked to them. And almost all those doctors that were fired by Governor Hochul, 15,000, many of them were, what they did is they went and they started private practices, traveling doctors. They went back to the same system we had back in the Old West. You see it in the Westerns all the time. The town doc, the guy, he would travel around to different houses in different towns. Well, a lot of doctors started doing that. And what they do is they have the communities and the individuals that they're visiting, they're all paying in a certain amount. And we've seen this in community doctors where you'll pay in a certain amount and you have a doctor, you have access to that doctor. You don't have to worry about any individual payment because the community is making a payment on a monthly basis. There's a couple of different variants on this.
You can do that kind of thing. 100%.
That's
I wish we had.
Solution.
Yes.
not another government program, because they will never get better. They will always get worse, because the answer is, well, we already have these people working. We can't fire them. We have to keep them working. So we just have to make a bigger system that is even more intrusive and even less effective to keep those people working, and then hire some more. You will never get a good answer from the government in this. Get rid of it and go into what I'm suggesting. I think that's a much better plan.
Well, it's funny. You got some people who are on your side tonight, Mike. Christine says, preach it, Mike. There is one truth. So somebody's on there. So there we go. Let's grab another one here. Joseph says, thoroughly enjoying both of you tonight. Love hearing Mike's perspective on these issues. So you got somebody. There we go. Pigabelle agrees. She goes, I agree. ACA is largely a giveaway to the insurance companies. True. The things people like about it are they can directly impact their care, like no denials and pre-existing conditions. Agreed. Look, I know people don't like the ACA. I don't either, but Pinkabell, I understand that we're in a spot where people need to be covered, right? And it's better to have that than nothing. I'm with you, but my problem is, Pinkabell, is I think many people think that the ACA should just be expanded and then it solves the problem. No, it is a Band-Aid that doesn't work well, that isn't enough. But you're right. I don't want people who have nothing. But if we don't jump another idea, like Mike is talking about, like I'm talking about, some other idea. And you know what? I blame Republicans for this. They were supposed to have a plan for this years ago, and they never did. They should have had a plan for this years ago, and they dropped the ball on this, and then we could have fixed it. I had a plan years ago. I had a plan for New York State years ago.
Go back to what we had before the ACA, or better yet, nothing at all. I know people hate that answer. Nothing at all. Work with your community, your church, your coworkers. Work with that, because that will lower the price. What's the biggest driver of healthcare costs?
I know, administration.
No, that's number 2.
What's number 1?
Lawsuits. Frivolous lawsuits. Number 1. It's the insurance that doctors have to pay. And the more that they have to see, more patients that they have to see on any given day, and ACA just gives them a cascade of people that they have to see and run through in a day. Well, that makes them more prone to making a mistake in some aspect of it. That means they get sued, and then they have to do a frivolous lawsuit, settle out of court, which means the insurance payouts are higher, which means the cost of everything go up. It is a vortex circling down. ACA is actually driving up the costs because it doesn't address the number 1 cost factor, which is the lawsuits. 2 is the administration, which grew because ACA is a monster. It is huge.
It is monster. I agree. I think it's crazy.
And people of color are the number 1 minorities, poor minorities. Let me be very specific. Poor minorities, especially in the urban communities in our cities, are the ones who are most impacted by this, have seen this negatively really just fall off of a cliff in terms of coverage and quality of care. And that's why they're not voting the way that they have traditionally been voting since the 1960s. And that's why Democrats are terrified.
So Roger says, exactly, Ari, why make us pay Easy Pass, Metro cards, LIRR, Metro tickets if my taxes already pay for these 4 services? My point exactly. If you're going to hammer me on taxes, make the stuff free at least, right? A lot of people say, well, they pay a lot of taxes in Scandinavia or whatever, and they're not that unhappy. Well, yeah, because things work, right? But if you've noticed in Sweden, they've had massive immigration. They haven't been able to handle, and the stuff's not working anymore. And now they're mad, right? So look, again, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to pay. But if stuff was working, yeah, I would be less upset for sure. But you're completely right, Roger. If the amount of taxes that New York State pays, you're right, all this should be free. You're completely correct with the amount of taxes we pay. But we pay tons of taxes, and we still got to pay for it. You're right. Cut my taxes and let me pay for that. Deal. I'll buy that. I'll pay for that. Cut my taxes. Or if you're going to keep hammering me, this should be free. I'm with Roger on this. One or the other. Mike, are we wrong?
No, slightly, but I largely agree with you. I think there has to be a cost, because if it is free, then it is abused because people have no value. They don't value something that's freely given to them.
True.
And every time we see this in every aspect, look at all the Democratic policies that are just giving stuff away. People do not appreciate it. They don't care because it means nothing to them. So there has to be a value. There should be some cost so you're invested in this and you feel connected to it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But it can be reduced if we're managing it properly.
They found this in Japan, by the way. In Japan, when they first made their healthcare, they made it completely free, totally free. And what happened is the elderly would show up every day because just why not? It's free and they hang out with their friends. So they had to charge a minimum amount. So they charged like $2 or something, whatever. But it was a minimal amount. It's like $2 to go to the doctor. Is like $2. So just dirt cheap. But just so there was some payment. And I think your point's about one. Imagine if getting on the subway was, I don't know, 5 cents or whatever. I made that up. Whatever it was a cheap by 50 cents. Whatever. So at least it be something. I'm not against very cheap, but just to make them have some value, I'm not against that. Yeah. So yeah. Liberty or Death is mad at me though. He says Larry isn't paying his fair share. There's 52% of his income still left after taxes. True. It's true.
This is why they never put a price, an amount on it, because it suddenly becomes so clear how ridiculous their system is. And by the way, it doesn't matter how much. You could take all the money if you took every dime of every billionaire in America, took all of their wealth, you would be able to run America for all of 27 days, not even a month, just once. That's wiping out. That's Bill Gates, Bill Gates and what's his name? Microsoft, Zuckerberg and Bezos. Take all their money. You'll run the country for less than 1 month. Taxes are not the answer. It's about efficiency, effectiveness, and where are we spending the money? By the way, I want to jump in with one question. I keep seeing this in the chat. People are going, impressions and reviews. What the hell are you guys talking about? They keep adding me. Mike, impressions and reviews. I've seen this like, I don't know, half a dozen people saying that. Are you talking, is that a person or is that to me? I don't know what it is. All
right, we got to figure this out. But before we go there, Pinkabell says, we're learning Larry's a cheap date. If only 2 hours buys into a panel. I am a cheap date. It's true, Pinkabell. I am. Like, if you want to take me out, like take me to a diner and like, we're good. Right? When Mike and I go out, I never go fancy restaurant. It's always like diner, always diner. He's probably mad at me. He's like, well, you cheap, come on now. But it's always diner. I always do diners. It's what I do. I am actually a very cheap date. That's true. You have to impress me with your personality, Pinkerbell. See that? Get impressed with your personality. It's not about the dollars. I'm not that way. I'm not a material man. I am a cheap date. It's true. So, yeah.
Okay. I found out what the chat is. There's someone in the chat who's named Mike Impressions and Reviews. Like,
yes.
Oh, I thought everyone was talking about me, but okay. It's the first time I'm seeing him here. So,
yes.
Sorry, I got confused.
Yes, there we go. Yes, he is a person in the chat. That's true. Yes. So yeah, I do like the idea of bringing people onto the show because I want more people to be on the show. Yes. The AC says the ACA, aka Obamacare, was patterned on Mitt Romney's Romney Care system that he implemented in Massachusetts. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and that was bad. It was bad there too.
The ACA. Look, if you're telling me I wish we had a better system, is what I guess I keep saying. But I do get that people want to not have nothing. I mean, I get it. It's just not the best system. We got to fix it. We need something better. We need something better. And I know Mike's like nothing, but that's never going to happen ever. So we'll figure something else.
Well, that's because we have too much government. But you notice that in our conversation tonight, when we started with, and we still actually are, all of this is still under the umbrella of minorities.
Yes.
In particular, Blacks and Hispanics voting in the 2024 election. And we're highlighting all of the reasons why they aren't voting blindly Democrat anymore. Because of all these problems, all of these things, which have I'm not saying it doesn't affect every American. It does. But every one of these issues are magnified on the urban minority communities. And they've been dealing with this, like with Obamacare, we're talking about 15, almost 20 years now, that are driving them insane. Why would they vote for someone who says, and I'm going to give it to you more, twice as hard? No, thank you, because there's no grease. Not worth happening. And this is why we're seeing the selection change.
Two things I want to bring up. One is a comment from Adrian. Thank you for being a member, Adrian. I appreciate it. putting Kamala up as a representative of Black American women is insulting. There's a part of it that's true. I agree with you. It's a part of it that's true.
Yeah.
But let me go the opposite way. That's the representative of Harris who's supposed to represent Black women. I know a lot of people who say this all the time. How can you vote for Trump? He's racist. I hear that all the time. How can you vote for Trump? He hates Black people. How can you vote for Trump? You know he says the N-word. I hear that all the time. And my response is, so what?
Yeah.
Most Black people I know will tell me they're all racist. I don't care. I'm just being forward. Most Black people will tell me that. I don't care. They're all Black. They're all racist. I don't care.
Say it all the time. What's the big deal? It's supposed to be not important anymore.
Well, I hear all the time. And I also hear people tell me, they say, yeah, I don't care. I just want to, I had my money in my pocket when Trump was there. That's all I care about.
True.
What Trump did well, and this is what I'm going to say is Trump. I don't think other Republicans could have done this because Republicans as a whole are bad at reaching out to the Black community. They're better at Hispanic community. Republicans reach out to the Hispanic community relatively well. They're not good at reaching out to the Black community. They fail at that miserably because they don't do it. They don't even try. They ignore it. But the one guy who did, and I'm not a massive Trump fan. I'm not.
I know.
But I give the man credit where credit is due. He actually was like this. I don't care if you're Black or not. Did you have a job? That's what he basically said. He didn't pander.
No,
he didn't pander. He just went, I don't care. You're Black. I don't care. You mad at me? I don't care. I'm racist. I don't care. You want a job? Here's a job. And Black people said, I would like a job. Yes. Okay. Huh. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Because he's not caught up in again, who's caught up in the minutia? It's not the right. It's not the center. It's only the left. And the further left you go, the more they're caught up in. Why do we have polls that break down whether someone's I can get their age. Why do we need to know their male, female? Why do we need to know about Latinos and Blacks and Arabs? That's for the left. It's for their marketing campaigns. You don't need that in a poll. That's not important. When I'm seeing whether or not where Americans are leaning, you don't need to know whether they're 70 and white or they're 20 and Black, male or female. No one needs to know that. That's not important. Except if you're marketing and you're trying to figure out, where do I need to target my 30-second ads? Who do I have to point them to? And what type of ad do I need to make? And it's all about, and we've seen that because earlier polls, you go back a couple of decades, polls weren't really focused on all of these minutia and these categories, but they are now. And what party, which ideology decides that you aren't a human being, you're just the amalgamation of checkboxes? The left.
I think AC's on your side. He says we need to be treating all Americans as Americans. You're not divide. Yeah. And then IC as the perfect one. What do you have to lose? Trump. That's what he said. He didn't care. He was like, what do you lose?
So did Stephen A. Smith, which was off of, what is that? The ABC sports thing.
ESPN.
ESPN. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love his answer. Yep. His thing was, all you have to do is vote Republican. If all Black people voted Republican once, if all Hispanics as a block voted Republican once, even or third party, if they all did, whether it's Republican or third party, the entire system would change overnight before January would hit.
Yep. Guaranteed. Robert says Trump was able to mention Black Americans dissected from minority/people of color. Think his Black jobs comment or his New Deal for Black America. That piece, he's right also. He didn't mind saying Black. And a lot of the left Democrats don't like saying the word Black. And this is similar, not the same, but similar to the Latinx piece. I mean, Mike, you tell me if I'm wrong. I still remember I'm going to get canceled for this, but I remember when Negro was okay.
Yeah.
I remember that. My father preferred being called Negro.
As opposed to being called colored, because that's what was before that. Yes.
Correct.
I remember
that was okay.
And then I remember being called colored in the 70s.
Yes.
Part of that is, this is why they can get away with so much today in terms of turning people into just check boxes and categories, because they've been conditioning people for the last 8 years to think that this is all brand new, that no one has ever dealt with the racism in America before, the sexism in America before. It's never been done, and it's never been worse than it is right now. Are you kidding me? This is the most pampered and privileged time to be a human being in the history of mankind since the moment we left the caves, or actually since the moment we got into the caves. It has never been better than this, and never better than here in the United States. Not to say that we're perfect, but this is about as good as it gets at this moment. And it's only if we come together that it'll get better. It is insane, because we have, think of the changes that have happened. 56 in 5 decades, half a century. We have gone from openly Jim Crow laws to mixed marriages being absolutely normal, a black president, a black vice president, or at least a woman of black skin color, a woman who's vice president actually got elected running for the presidency. We have, you are protected if you're gay, you're protected if you're trans, you're protected if you're black, you're a woman, especially if you're any of those things or all of them at once. God help you, you get everything. We have never had such a better time to be a human being, and in particular, to be a human being in America. We need to get away from this victim mentality and this idea that this is the first time anyone has ever solved any of this, because most of it was solved before people were born today. In the last 30 years, we fixed it back in the 90s. We were better then than we are today. We are regressing, not moving forward. And we need to be honest with each other about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. Joseph's on your side. He says, bravo, Mike. Huge point on polling minutia. But see, I'm going to push back. I'm with Pinkerbell. Pinkerbell says data points help inform strategy. I think she's right. And let me tell you why. I think the reason why I think she's right is it's what Robert just said, right? You do sometimes want to have a message for certain communities that lands for them. I like the idea of saying, a new deal for Black America or a black job. I do. It does feel good. It does make me feel good about it. I like the concept of it. Even Trump said it, black jobs that black people have. Even Trump says it. He knows it too. I think it does work well as long as you're not pandering. The problem is they go to the pander. They go to Beto O'Rourke all of a sudden speaking Spanish like, okay, now he's Mr. Mexican, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Beto,
I think
his name's Robert.
Exactly. Yes. But my
Irish
point is,
boy.
I do think there's value. I think Pinkerbell's right. I think there's, plus I'll go even deeper. How about the difference between immigrant blacks versus blacks who are African descent, American descendants of slaves?
African Americans.
I'd go even down that road too, right? I do both. I think it does matter.
No, it's dehumanizing. Just like it's dehumanizing in the same way that the Equal Rights Amendment is, that movement is absolutely dehumanizing. Affirmative action, dehumanizing. Critical race theory, dehumanizing. Because in the element in each of these things, at the root, at the core of each of these things, is a belief system that says that you are incapable without government assistance, whether it's because you're a woman, a man, different color, religion, whatever, it doesn't matter. At the core, it says you are less than human. You cannot achieve, you cannot gain this, or we have to give you special compensation, special treatment. We have to do for you because you cannot do for yourself. And the more that we promote that ideology in small ways and in big ways, even when it's not meant to be that, but that is what its function is. It dehumanizes and it belittles those that is meant to help. We need to stop trying to make programs for Black Americans. Karen, guess what? You make programs, you make an environment that is business friendly. Black people will work, so will white people, so will Hispanics, so will women. Because America is free, they will get the jobs. The problem is get the jobs, not trying to target this section of Americans. That's dehumanizing.
All right.
And I know most people don't agree. No, most people have never thought of it that way. And I think when you think about it, people will agree with me. But most people haven't.
Sue's on your side already. You got people on your side already, Mike. Sue's already on your side. You got people on your side already. Christine's like, well, 50 minutes. Yeah, you got people on your side. Jess, yep, great. Mike, Steve, you got people on your side already. Morgan's like, amen. Okay. So no. People are on your side already. I think
I get a lot of blowback for that, believe it or not.
I think they're all wrong, damn it. No, you're all wrong. I'm kidding. It's fine. All I'm saying is I think there is value in the points in general, because I think you can create systems that will you at least be able to focus on the wording, the messaging when it comes to that. I would say that at least. So Pinkabell says Beto O'Dork.
No, I just saw Joel. Joel, he's funny. The most
okay, hold on. Hey, Mike needs some pictures in background with that rant. I agree. You're winning my audience. Damn you, Mike. I hate when you win my audience. I hate when you win my audience.
I love that one, Joel. Thank
God. See, Pinkabell knows me. That data helps Larry do his job, guys. She's right.
No,
that's why I like it.
I understand that aspect of it, but
she's not wrong. Yes.
No. And I understand it. Hey, I work in politics too. I get it.
Joseph's teasing you. He goes, all the white people agree with Mike. Nice, Joseph. Nice. We're talking about race. Nicely done, brother. Nicely done. I do like that. That's very good. Absolutely. All right. So I do want to go to one last piece if I could. Sure. AC says, Beto was from San Antonio. He's so close to Mexico, it's possible that his sewage is treated in Ciudad de Juarez in Mexico. If you grow up in a situation, you damn well better speak some Spanish. Agreed. No. I don't think Beto was being fake in speaking Spanish. I think he does have a Spanish background, and I do. I'm saying he was pandering when he did it. Yes. The fact that you speak Spanish doesn't mean you're pandering. I mean, many people need to speak Spanish for their job, or it's their background, or whatever. That's fine. But he wasn't doing it because of that. His intent was not that. His intent was to pander. That's my problem. But look, many people speak Spanish for whatever reason. It's fine. But he was fake.
When he co-opted, I think that's the word that they like to use, or appropriated Beto as his name instead of Robert, because his name isn't Roberto. His name is Robert. He's an Irish kid. He's an Irish American. Fantastic. I have no problem with that. And I don't have any problem with his friends or anyone calling him Beto. But I do have a problem when someone who's that far on the left is trying to use his leftist ideology to point fingers at other people and say, you're sexist, you're racist, you're appropriating these ideologies, and is at the same time doing that very same appropriation. You know what? Here's the mirror. Look in it.
Okay. Well, guys, I want to make sure that we are clicking that button that is like. I know I ask you all the time to do that, but I do it on purpose. If you like what Martha was saying when she was here, please follow her on Twitter or on X. It's Bueno for Miami. And of course, please follow Mike on Rumble at No Soundbites Allowed. Please do that. If you have not shared this, I don't know why not. Please share it now. Make sure you're subscribing. It does matter. Click on that bell. I appreciate that. If you want to become a member, that's on Larry Sharpe YouTube. Just go to join. $5 a month keeps me doing this and less working. And then I get to be on time, which I try to be on time to the best of my ability. Guys, I'm going to be ending this here. I will be on tomorrow at 7. Oh, you got one more?
I got something else. Yes.
Okay. I will not be ending it. Mike has something to say. Mike, say it, brother.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask is, for all the people who are voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz based on color or sex or ideology. Okay. Well, not the ideology, just color and sex categories, the check boxes. The things that really are not substantive. What happens if she wins? What do you gain? I understand she breaks through the glass ceiling. And what do you gain? How is America made better by objectifying and dehumanizing yourself to vote for someone based on the least important factors for anything? Because being a woman does not make you right or better or smarter.
I will tell you why. Yeah, you're asking a question. I'll tell you why. What many people believe, and in some aspect it is true, depending upon how detailed it is. I think your point is it's not number one at all. But the concept is, if I'm choosing a leader, I want a leader who understands me. I want a leader who understands my lived experience. Because then, in theory, you're asking why. I'm telling you why. Because in theory, what happens is that person will make better decisions. That person will do better, be a better leader because they'll understand where I'm coming from. So if she is a black woman and I'm black, or I'm a woman, she will understand me more because we have shared lived experience. Therefore, she is a better leader.
That is idiotic. That is the least, again, that is dehumanizing. So no one else can understand anyone else's circumstance. This is the reason why they had to put black elves into rings of power as an example that everyone can easily identify. Why are they injecting that in there? Because I can't identify with the Lord of the Rings, a show about dwarves and elves and dragons and Sauron. Are you kidding me? And I can't identify with that. It's been written in 80 different languages, has millions upon millions.
Hold on.
You get my point where I'm going with that?
Yes, I do. But you're also assuming that people are voting for her only that. Now
there are some people who are doing that.
Yes, but that's right-wing propaganda. The reality of it is there are a chunk of people who are voting for her because of that. That's true. But that's not the only reason at all. There's lots of people who are voting for the Harris Waltz ticket for other reasons, but they see that as a bonus. Okay. That is how they see it. They see it as a bonus.
But here's my thing, because I'm going off of, and maybe this is unfair, I'll accept that, but I'm going off of, there were several polls when Obama was running in 2008 to become president. There were several polls amongst Democrats, and about 11% of Democrats were not voting for Obama for president because he's black or black, white, whatever, mixed, mulatto, whatever you want to say. Okay. And I'm going with the same principle that there's about 10% of any population group, of any organization or institution that are so extreme that they will either be for or against whatever it is based on their ideology. So yes, there's about 10% of the world that wouldn't vote for Kamala because she's a woman and she's black. There's also about 10% that will vote for her for that reason. Now they tend to balance themselves out because we're talking about the extreme ends of the bell curve, right? As the British would call it, the bell ends. Fantastic. And they balance themselves out. But in this case, we're talking about that ideology, which is helping Kamala get whatever number she's going to get. And she would lose if she did not have those. She would lose. But I'm trying to understand, their ideology makes no sense. It's dehumanizing.
People disagree.
Fundamentally bad.
It's the opposite of dehumanizing, recognizing that people have different lived experiences. Yeah, I agree with her. I think she's right. It's not dehumanizing at all. It's the reverse.
No.
It's saying that you have a different lived experience, which means you're a human being. You have felt different ways, and that will affect your leadership.
Yeah, but that's like saying that I can't empathize or understand what it is to be white or Asian, to live in Russia or in South America or Africa, that I cannot, as a human being, I can't envision, understand, and have compassion or empathy for any other human being except for the exact group I'm in. That just makes no sense to me.
No. It's a bonus. The reality is, of course, you can have empathy for somebody else. Right. Sure. But I'll give you a perfect example of this. Many of my friends here in New York City, a lot of them, not most, but a lot are Jewish, right? A lot, there's a big Jewish community here in New York City, right? If I see that, I don't want to say get canceled, that sign that the 1930s Germans used to use, that symbol, right? I know some people, that is a visceral, horrible feeling. Now, I can empathize and say, I understand that it is a horrible feeling. Yeah. But can I know that feeling? No. I know it's a bad feeling. I get it's horrible. I can empathize. Yep, I can imagine it, but I can't feel that. I didn't grow up with that. I don't have relatives who went through that, right? That's not my community. I can't get that. I was talking about this.
But you can, but you have in your community people who've gone through experiences to that extent or similar extent.
100%.
As an example, I've been homeless twice in my life. And I can talk to, and I do. I'm an advocate for homelessness to help people not be homeless or get them out of homelessness. Always happy to try and help with that.
Yep.
But because most people have not been homeless, does not mean they cannot empathize or understand the nature of the problem, the difficulty of the problem. They may not know the specifics. Fantastic. That's why I'm here to be able to explain specifics. but they can understand what it is. They can imagine it. And if you can imagine it, you can feel it. You can evoke those same emotions, maybe not the same intensity, but intensity does not mean more understanding.
Here's where we're fighting. I'm not saying in any way that should be the number one thing. I'm not, right? The number one thing shouldn't be that I understand how that symbol is. If I want to be, say, mayor of New York, for some reason, I would say mayor of New York in a heavily Jewish community in New York State. I'm not saying that, right? But if I was Jewish, right? I'm not, but if I was, I would see that as a benefit is all I'm saying, an add-on to someone who I got two people who I like both of them.
I don't understand.
And one of them would be an add-on because they have a lived experience similar to mine.
I don't think that's.
No. I know you're saying no, and what I'm telling you is you asked the question. You keep telling me no.
Right.
I'm giving you the answer, and you're like, no, it's not the answer. You're saying you don't.
I'm not saying no, it's not the answer. I'm saying I find the answer to be unsatisfactory, and I mean that in the same way that. And as a Marine, you know what I mean when I'm saying it's unsat. It's just unsat.
I can get that.
But it's not that I'm not hearing what you're saying. It's not that I'm not understanding you. It's just the frustration that it brings about in me, because I find that literally to be dehumanizing. I know it's not the intention, but it is the outcome.
And what I'm saying is people feel many ways, and this is not just about logic. It's also about how I feel. It does. And to be forward, that doesn't mean every black person wants to vote for a black guy. I'm not saying that.
Of course.
But we do know there are a chunk of people who say that person will feel my pain. That person will understand me. So
all the people who went to see Soul Plane, they're going to do that. And God help us. Soul Plane
was a funny movie, goddammit.
That was a horrendous movie.
Funny movie, stop.
It was absolute crap.
Doesn't matter. It's still funny. Come on. They hold it on like in a subway.
No.
He's wrong. Please. Funny cult classic. You should watch it.
Oh my God, no. Please don't do that to yourself.
So yes. All right. Now can I go, Mike?
Sure.
Okay, now I can go. All right. Now you got me. I can go finally. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right. Joel says, though, I enjoy you guys not agreeing. It makes the discussion. I appreciate that. There we go. Yes, I appreciate that. It's true. 100%. But of course, everybody is in that way, right? Mike says, I voted for Zeldin, but would have voted for a non-Jew because Hope was horrible. Yes, I don't think Zeldin being Jewish should have been a number one reason why someone votes for him. But I could understand if someone said, oh, that's a bonus because he'll understand me. I could definitely see that. That's not crazy in my thought process. I could get that.
It's unnecessary. It is a checkbox. I don't like checkboxes, especially and nowadays people take it to the extreme and they go, oh, that checkbox is my checkbox. I've been taught and told in schools and colleges that I have to go with the checkbox. And so they do. That's where my problem. And it always leads to that, which is dehumanizing.
Wow. Roger. Look at what Roger says.
What?
Mike, we agree.
No way.
You got Roger tonight. You were winning my whole audience. You got them all tonight. God damn it.
For people in the audience who don't know, Roger loves to tell me how wrong I am.
Yes.
Loves it. And I enjoy it. Okay. I love Roger. Roger. And I love hearing Roger take on some of the issues that we disagree on. And that's fantastic. It just like when Larry does it. I love it. Or anyone on the panel. But to see him say he in caps. Oh
yes.
Boy.
Wow. All right, guys. I will be on tomorrow at 7. I'm doing an AMA tomorrow. So you guys have any questions, comments, I'll just take them all tomorrow, AMA at 7. I'll be on Monday night, 9 p.m. with my panel show. Maybe I'll have one of you guys on. Anyway, I have a panel show on Monday night. But next week is going to be an interesting week for you guys. I do have a couple of interesting guests. I am going to have a Nico House on Tuesday, and Nomiki Konst from Rising will be on Friday. So we'll have some decent guests next week. Tomorrow at 7. And guys, once this is over, do me a favor. We need to keep Mr. Rhythm happy. You know him, Al Gore. Rhythm, keep him happy. After this, head on back, put a comment down. I'll respond to the comments. I will see you all